Well, this one's very interesting. I did a little bit before on it, doing a little bit more on it. Most people don't know that on August 7th, 1972, the greatest solar flare in the history of the planet occurred. This is an abstract, some unusual features of the cosmic ray storm in August of 1972. Now you got to realize, I'm the only one that knows this. On August 6th, 1972, all life on planet was put to sleep, and they were not woken up until August 13th, 1972. All this is documented, but if you notice, every time it's talked about this large solar flare, the date, the time, it keeps changing. You're looking at August 4th to August 7th. They're giving all different types. What time it happened, what day it happened, 6:30 UT, 8 hours after. All right. Here's another abstract. They're given the 1500. This is the common one, and then it just keeps changing all the time. They're saying a giant shock wave from this hit the Earth. Ooh, let's hit the PDF real fast. And then the major events during the 2nd to the 8th of August. Well, I know for a fact that it happened on August 7th because I remember August 6th being told that the whole planet was being put to sleep. On August 7th, after the event happened, Eastern Standard Time around 3 o'clock in the morning, I went to sleep. I woke up the following day. I observed all the light, the casting of the shadows. The telephone pole that was in front of my house had different lengths of shadows. From what I understand, you got to realize, everyone thinks of the Earth as having a North Pole and a South Pole. It does not. It's a giant crystal. It has a South Pole with 3 other poles, and then a North Pole with 3 other poles, and it shoots down like this. It creates an 8-sided magnet. That is what the Earth is. It's an 8-sided magnet. Ooh, you know what I could use? Alright, let's shoot down, and I'll get into that a little bit more later. They call these a Type 2 and a Type 4 burst. In this solarstorms.org, they call the August 2nd, 1972, the Space Age Storm. What is it? They classified as an X2, the solar flare X-ray power. And here they're giving it a flare at 11:24 UT. So if you notice, time's very convoluted right here. They're giving out all different types of dates, times. Nobody knew anything. The whole planet was put to sleep. I know, because I woke up and it was a ghost town. But I was allowed to wake up my friends, and we played football till 11 o'clock at night. So I have witnesses. Here we go. Abstract. The intense solar flare of August 7th, 1972. There's that 15 universal time again. Type 2 and Type 4 burst. Pulse in the band of 100 to 200 megahertz. Traveling at a velocity of 1,500 kilometers a second. In which the shock generated by the solar flare was tracked through the interplanetary plasma right to the Earth. This is an abstract from another site, which is saying that the X-ray flux increments at 1530, 1600, 1700, and 2100 are calculated for the north of the 40-degree north latitude and 75 west longitude. Different times, all saying the same thing. Something big, bigger than it's ever happened. Remember, when Noah lived, he said, God, what's going to happen? I will never wipe you out by a flood. Next time it'll be by... All right, here another one. 1519 Universal Time, August 7th, 1972. There occurred on the sun a white light flare with continuum emission brighter than ever before photographed. Something happened. Everybody knows it. This was the biggest thing that ever happened in the history of the planet. Look at that. All right, next. The sun's wrath. Worst solar storms in history. At space.com. 1972, solar flare versus AT&T. Here they're saying it's the major solar flare that erupted on August 4th, 1972, knocked out long-distance phone communication across some states, including Illinois, according to NASA account. It didn't happen on the 4th. These people were all put to sleep on the 6th. How can it happen on the 4th? All right, the next one's kind of interesting. It's a different perspective. This is Drunvalo, our history in the 1972 Syrian experiment. I mean, if you looked at my vlog, I've got alien heads where more than one. I have my uncle's research at Project Blue Book, which produced one piece of paper. 80 different types of UFOs that come to this planet on a continual basis. There are 5 races out there keeping an eye on us to make sure we don't blow ourselves up. This has to do with our history on this planet. What has happened here, our creators, Lemuria, Atlantis, the Lucifer Rebellion, Thoth. It's some interesting reading. Egypt and stair-step evolution. Akhenaten. And that's it. Then it gets into the Drunvalo, the 1972 Syrian experiment. And then he takes it down, kind of interesting. That's the whole gist of the gist. But let's look at it from a different standpoint. This entire planet needed to be protected from the sun. It either exploded as a solar flare and it wiped us all out. If you look at Dolores Cannon's books, Convoluted Universe 2, Convoluted Universe 3, she devoted the last chapter in each of those books to this information. I'm the one that provided this information to her. Up until she met me, this was all what? She was in kindergarten. I brought her into college. The reality is, A, the entire planet was destroyed and we still have a giant force field protecting this planet, which I believe is very true, because this summer, on August 7, 1972, we had some upper atmospheric disturbances, and I seen remnants of what I remember that night, or I should say the wee hours of the morning, on August 7th, 1972. So, hey, I'm just a crazy person telling you something that you never knew before, that's been swept under the carpet, and it's been hidden, and no one wants you to know. Well, there's lots of stuff that I know that the rest of the planet doesn't know. But I did find some of this stuff very interesting, very informative. It talks about in the book of Revelation about the 144,000. There's 144,000 races that came to see this grand experiment, never done in the history of the cosmos. It is believed, 1, that the force field is still there, 2, that the sun changed its makeup and it expelled, or I should say, it increased its size. There's one theory that says that the sun is now as big as, reaches almost Jupiter. There's another that says this event that happened in 1972 with 2 solar flares, one on the 7th, one another couple days later, that it was created by 2 giant motherships that came and used our sun to transport through time. You may have seen a movie, it's called Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Well, in that movie it shows one mothership. In reality, the second mothership stayed in orbit. right, and here what you're going to read is that the Syrians knew, or other races knew, that 144,000 other races knew that this planet was going to be exterminated and had to go to God and ask God for permission to try to save this planet because all life on this planet was wiped out by the event that happened on August 7th, 1972. The Galactic Command, or the 5 races that have been watching out on us ever since, had to agree on a solution, and in here it does explain how the solution was reached, how it happened. Here they're saying there's 4 major flares between August 2nd and August 7th. Even here they're incorrect. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's August 7th to the 12th. August 7th flare was the heavy-duty home run, wiped out all life on planet. The second flare was probably about the 10th. I'd say about the 10th. Sometime earlier in the morning, like around 9. Yeah, that's about it. Sometime around 9. You got to realize, I was 8 years old, and I witnessed the most amazing thing that any human has ever seen. You got to realize, all of the cosmos has come to watch to see what would happen if they could pull this off. If mankind and all life on planet Earth could be spared. Well, it did work, and after that, our planet evolved so much. Things have changed so fast. I mean, a couple months later, all of a sudden, ARPANET tests, the internet began. Hypertext. Hypertext is the one thing that we needed that was not in place. I mean, I was there on October 25th, 1972. They were so backwards, they were spitting out punch cards with little holes on them. And I told them, you'll find it. It's up here. But what are you guys doing? This is not what the internet is. You're doing everything backwards. So I gave them a little push, and the internet is what it is today. Obviously, if you looked at this site, hey, this is a guy that invented the iPhone, the iPad, the tablet, the smartphone. So maybe what he is saying is true. That's up to you to decide. I'm just a crazy person, so... You know, if I did invent these things, why were they all stolen from me? It's alright. Up top, up above, they're all watching. They know what I did. Alright, that's the end of this. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh yeah, this was, let me tell you, excerpts from the book. Nothing in this book is true, but it's exactly how things are. Copyrighted in 1994 by Bob Frisell. If you check on the web, you're going to find that this has been reprinted more than once. So if this at v-j-enterprises.com disappears suddenly, you can find this in other places on the internet. And they all tell the same thing. Alright. Hope this has been informative. And if anybody's reading or watching any of these videos that I do have some interesting stuff up here. It is very informative. Other stuff that no one else knows about. No one else has eaten. No one else has seen. No one else has heard of. It's a very unique channel. And I hope you like it. Thank you.